A year ago, I posted a video on my YouTube titled Putting in My Papers. And in that video, I was very emotional because I had no idea what my future was going to look like. I had no idea if I would survive the freelancer lifestyle. I just knew that the 9 to 5 lifestyle as a creative was not making me creative and was making me feel trapped inside. And I was going and processing through all of those emotions and uncertainty and feelings of things not being in place and the paranoia that comes from being in a situation like that. But upon self reflection, a year has passed and I've survived. And it's that time in my life, in my year, again, where it's just like I gotta redefine my intentions moving forward in 2025. The same way I defined in 2023 moving towards 2024. You see, I had another wake up call and I actually posted a video on that. Check that out if you haven't. It was a little bit more of a relaxed style. I get that this is a little bit more formal and a little bit more intimidating, but that one might be to your taste. So I'll leave that in the link in the description. But during that wake up call that I've had, I recognize that my express purpose, especially when it comes to stuff like YouTube, hey, what we're building right now over here, needs to have a certain definition to the work that I'm doing. It needs to have a certain vision, a certain clarity. Because what's the point of doing this work when nobody's rewarding you for it, nobody's recognizing you for it, nobody's noticing you for it, if you don't have a vision for it? And what does it mean to even have a legacy? Because here's the counterintuitive part about legacy, right? Like we all want to build a legacy and work towards that objective. At least a lot of the ambitious lot want to do that. But they're doing it from this place of ego. They're driven by their ego. And because of that, they don't have the patience to build that legacy. The most counterintuitive part about legacy is that your legacy will stand tallest when you leave the world. It's after you're dead that your legacy lives on. So all of this egotistical um, effort in order to build this legacy is going to be in vain, because you're not going to see its results and you're going to feel demotivated and you're not going to want to do the work that builds upon that legacy or builds towards that legacy. Disassociate from the ego and understand that if you trust in a certain process and you move in your life with that trust, that you will be able to reap benefits from it. Trust that everything is going to work out. And that's not to say that you're going to ignore reality and you're going to shy away from all of your problems and complications that you have in your life. Not at all. But when thinking about problems, when gathering insight into how you can fix the issue that you're having in your life, during that process, move and flow with this immense trust that the universe always has your best interest at heart. It's difficult because it's a very cruel place to live in. I get that. Like, reality, nature, it's brutal in its nature. There is nothing peaceful about this, right? But somehow you are here and everything and everybody is indifferent towards you, and you just have to make the best out of it. You were told at your childhood, this is what most people do, this is what you do if you want safety, and if you don't want safety, and if your parents were open minded enough to let you go and venture out and into the unknown, well, then you had that as well. But the general gist of what it means to be human was just fed to you on a spoon, and we just took that and we just accepted that because that's what our culture accepted. But how many times in our history have we learned that culture is often wrong, or culture never has the full picture in mind? Every culture across humanity has had this problem where culture tends to lock itself into this certain paradigm, and it tends to form this walled garden, and that garden can be very beautiful. And that's what people mistake with this, is that if the garden is lush, then why the fuck would I go out there and try to hunt and forage for something? If everything is grown here and everything is just serving me best, why do I have to look outside? But there are certain people, perhaps you're one of them and you're listening to this, that knows that there is more to life and wants to expand and explore upon it. And that's what I've been trying to do with my work, especially with my YouTube, which is why I've been trying to convince a lot of my friends to just start a YouTube channel, even if you don't want to show anybody. This opens up your mind, and it opens up doors, and it actually creates doors that did not exist as doors close for you. You know, as you move forward in your life and you're seeking for better opportunities and more opportunities, like what's it that you can do that makes more doors visible in front of you, and what makes more doors open up for you? Living life off Instagram and trying to find work through freelancing has been challenging. It's been more challenging than I thought. And I still can proudly say that the way in which I gather work today is through word of mouth, is through my captivating presence during shoot that makes people inquisitive as to, like, okay, what is this guy about? And will employing him instead of somebody else make my experience on set better, or my work, the final output, better? Because if this kid is going on about how he doesn't use Instagram and how he doesn't need that, and he's just saying word of mouth, maybe there is a little bit of truth to that. And there is. Now, I don't know if I can make the claim that the output is going to be better than somebody else, because we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and I'm very cognizant of that. But at the same time, I know that with my presence, most people have a better experience on set. I know we're digressing from where we first started, but I wanted to pull all of these parts and put them together in front of you as this sort of unassembled jigsaw puzzle, and kind of try to put the pieces in the right place so that we can zoom out and see the bigger picture. And the bigger picture here that I want you to see is taking a leap of faith on yourself, educating yourself, being open minded, and being open to unknown challenges that life throws at you. Because when you have to assemble this jigsaw piece and sort of figure it out, figure your life out, we actually get lost in where one piece fits, and we, even after fitting that piece, we just obsess over just those things aligning, and that's about it. We never really appreciate what it's like to really zoom out and look at the bigger picture. And big picture understanding is quite important in building a legacy. You see how everything sort of connects. You see how everything sort of starts to make sense and synthesize together, and you're like, okay, cool, like I'm gonna let you cook. And let me cook, brother. Let me cook. Seek truth and seek doing the kind of work that brings the sort of passion and vigor into your life. Do the kind of work that makes you proud to do that work. Don't get stuck in an endless fucking cycle of doing menial work for somebody above you when his intentions or her intentions are not the best intentions. Like, you're going to be miserable if you realize that you're doing entry level job and the work that you're contributing towards is all serving the CEO who just wants a bunch of sex, drugs, money, status, and things that are very menial in its nature, or things that don't really matter in the bigger picture, because he's doing it for his ego's sake and he's using you to fulfill all of that ego's desires. And in doing that, he creates a lot of damage. He creates collateral damage in trying to acquire all of those things that he so dearly holds on to for himself. And you've been forced to contribute to that damage because that was the only means of your survival. Survival is a very intricate game that everybody continues to play without really noticing it, without really observing it, without really recognizing that the game that you're playing, all the manipulations that you do, the thousands of manipulations that you do on your day to day experience is all for your survival. And I don't mean survival in the sense that you die, but survival in the sense that you get to upkeep and maintain everything that makes you you, the ego that you hold on to. So, the biggest thing for me when it came to quitting my job, because while my CEO was not that obnoxious as the obnoxious example that I gave, he was 60-70% there. And like, that's not his problem. He's just a product of his culture. But I did not want to contribute to that culture anymore. And I wanted to discover different means of finding my survival, more positive ways in which I can accomplish that objective and serve me well, but at the same time serve some bigger picture also. You know, doing this freelance work and just really stepping outside my comfort zone, trying to network and interact with people and really letting my personality shine both in front of the camera and in front of other people help me grow and help me appreciate survival a little bit more. Also, reading about survival really helps. Because you see, if you observe nature, you can see that the shape of every animal in nature is perfectly shaped for their survival, and vice versa. Your survival needs do shape you as well. If you're the athletic kind, or your work requires that you be a little bit more athletic, if you're into woodworking, or if you're into doing construction work where you're manually lifting heavy loads, that shapes you to have a certain kind of physique and a certain kind of posture and a certain kind of shape that you encompass. But if you're the type of person that has the kind of job where it's very cushy, you're just sat there in a chair for 8 hours a day. In your office, there's a pantry with unlimited snacks, and you just keep gorging on snacks and coffee throughout the day. You're going to develop a different shape as compared to that of the laborer. That's just how reality is. We all adapt to our survival's need, and we take the shape that our survival demands us to. Pretty profound, right? And that's why when you see somebody who can carry himself so well, and their presence is just radiating out of them, oozing out of them, that aura, you can observe that they're shaped a certain way. And that's not the physical makeup that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the mannerism in which they conduct themselves, also. That's also a shape that they're embodying. And that shape is quite different and distinct from everybody else. That's the average person. And that's what makes you drawn to them. That's what makes you want to be in their presence. And that's essentially what I've been trying to do with this work as well. I'm learning how it's like to trust that the universe has a plan for you. I'm a firm believer. It's a cold and cruel and indifferent world out there, but even through all of that, even if you have to meet with a certain tragedy, it's all part of a bigger picture that's unfolding before you. And we tend not to look at that because we get so engrossed in the pain that's being inflicted because of that unraveling process that happens throughout the universe, because reality is impermanent, everything changes, everything is in flux. If I had to go back to my 1 year old self and tell him something, it would be just that everything is going to work out. Just believe and act like it's going to work out. This information does not mean that you sit idle in your ass and not do work. This requires immense work. I think by now you realize that this does need work. And through that work, through doing that, you can accomplish the work that you want and get better results if you move with the kind of faith that enables you to believe that, like, yes, eventually this is all going to work out. The struggle that I'm facing right now won't be struggle a year later, and I'm going to look back and be like, was I really that stressed out about everything? Why was I that stressed out? Everything kind of worked out. And it's in a way, it's that stress that makes you want to do something also. But it's not good for your health, it's not good for your cholesterol, it's not good for the balance that you have in your body. It's not so simple. And that's, I think, what I want to illustrate with these examples. But once you understand the general framework of how we move forward in our life and how we think about accomplishing the goals that we want and striving for the kind of results that we require, both for ourselves, but what other people demand in us also, and push forth to that faith, the better your work is going to become. And the more at peace with life you are going to become, and the more full and in loving states you can be, because you realize that you're not acting out of the lizard survival instincts anymore. You've thought about this from a larger picture, and you see past the minutiae of things, and you can look at life from a much more holistic standpoint. And so with this, I have to execute on what I've preached so far, because I made this video because I was feeling that survival kick in once again. And now it's time for me to push trusting the universe with everything and knowing that at the end of the day, it's all going to work out. So, with that being said, Ferry Wonka is signing out. Peace. Take care, guys.